In January 2026, a single image begins circulating across screens around the world. A man seated alone, hands bound, no podium, no anthem, no cheering crowd, only concrete, fluorescent light, silence. The image feels sudden. It feels dramatic. It feels like an ending. It is not. It is a receipt for decisions made years earlier. Because nothing this powerful happens overnight, not arrests, not collapses, not national catastrophes. This story did not begin with agents or helicopters. It began with balance sheets, with neglected machinery, with promises that could never be paid. Long before anyone placed handcuffs on a former president, an entire economy had already been restrained. Here is the puzzle. Venezuela should have been one of the richest countries on Earth, not theoretically, not someday, already. It holds more proven oil reserves than any nation in history. It has fertile land, warm climate, access to the sea. It once had universities, factories, refineries, and a growing middle class. And yet within a single generation, the country fell into mass poverty. Not gradual decline, free fall. So the real question is not who was arrested. The real question is this: how do you bankrupt abundance? To answer that, you must understand what a state actually is. A state is not a personality, not a speech, not a slogan. A state is an operating system. It collects resources, allocates them, enforces rules, maintains infrastructure. Most importantly, it converts trust into function. Trust that money will hold value. Trust that contracts will be honored. Trust that tomorrow will resemble today. Once that trust evaporates, everything becomes expensive. Security, loyalty, stability, and expensive power is fragile power. Venezuela's weakness did not start with ideology, it started with dependence. For decades, oil paid for nearly everything. Imports, food, fuel, social programs, political loyalty. Oil money made the country feel productive even when it was not. Factories closed quietly. Farms stagnated. Local industry thinned. Why struggle to build complicated businesses when crude exports seemed endless? This is the resource trap. One dominant export grows so large that it slowly kills everything else. The nation appears wealthy, but beneath the surface, capability erodes. By 2013, Venezuela already suffered from this hidden decay. The economy depended on oil. The state depended on oil. Politics depended on oil. But oil production itself depends on competence. Engineers, maintenance, spare parts, long-term planning. Years earlier, that competence had been purged. Thousands of experienced professionals inside the national oil company were removed. Loyalty replaced expertise. Almost no one noticed the damage yet. Loyalty cannot fix turbines. Loyalty cannot stop corrosion. Loyalty cannot stabilize pressure. Oil fields do not care about speeches. They obey physics. So production began falling. Structurally, wells aged, pipelines leaked, refineries broke, yet the government behaved as if nothing fundamental had changed. Instead of reinvesting, oil revenue was drained into immediate spending. Subsidies, handouts, political projects. Then in 2014, global oil prices collapsed. This is when serious governments make painful choices. Cut spending, reform institutions, accept recession. Venezuela chose fantasy. Rather than shrinking the state to match lower income, the government expanded the money supply. Printing money feels powerful at first. No votes required. No negotiations, no sacrifices, but printing money does not create goods. It only creates more claims on the same limited supply of goods. Inflation is the mathematical result. Then hyperinflation. Money stops functioning as savings, stops functioning as pricing, stops functioning as planning. People stop asking, how much does this cost? They start asking, will this cost more in 1 hour? Wages became meaningless, so people spent instantly. Businesses could not calculate costs. The economy lost coordination. When coordination dies, shortages explode. Shelves emptied. Lines lengthened. Black markets grew. The government blamed merchants. It imposed price controls. If a product is forced to sell below production cost, producers stop producing. Scarcity increases. The state responds with enforcement. Raids, confiscations, threats, producers vanish. The system enters a death spiral. At this stage, survival becomes the organizing principle of society. Families skip meals. Parents sell belongings. Children learn hunger before they learn algebra, and scarcity creates a new form of power. Whoever controls access controls behavior. Subsidized food became leverage. Support the government, receive food. Protest, risk removal. Meanwhile, corruption exploded. Hunger itself became profitable. When systems reach this stage, people leave. Millions migrated, doctors, teachers, engineers. A country can survive poverty. It cannot survive the loss of skill. Infrastructure decayed. In 2019, the grid collapsed. Darkness, no water, no communications, revenue disappeared. Oil exports minimal, taxes collapsed. The regime searched for money that did not require legitimacy. Gold mining, militarized mining. The state began behaving less like a government and more like a syndicate. Sanctions intensified. Isolation deepened. The government tolerated US dollars, markets priced in dollars. This produced an illusion, one Venezuela with dollars, one without. By late 2025, revenue strained, patronage delayed, internal distrust increased. At that stage, leaders become liabilities. This is how January 2026 becomes possible, not because of one raid, not because of one betrayal, but because the foundation had already collapsed. The arrest was not a cause. It was a symptom. Removing one figure does not reverse decades of damage. Oil fields still require repair. Power grids still require rebuilding. Institutions still require trust. And the people who pay longest are not those who printed money. They are the citizens who stayed, the children who grew up malnourished, the families scattered across continents. Venezuela's story is not about ideology. It is about incentives colliding with reality. Reality always collects. If a nation with unimaginable natural wealth can collapse this far, what does that say about the systems you depend on every single day?